As a child, I was always brought to Newgrange, although to me it was the Tooth Fairy's house, due to the sparkly white quartz that surround it. I never returned to Newgrange. I never cared to learn about my past and ancestors before me. Now that I'm older, I feel that I'm missing out on learning about my culture and identity, and especially not appreciating a monument less than 20 minutes from where I live that's older than the pyramids of Giza.
So I'm currently on my way out to Newgrange. I don't really know how to get here. I haven't been since I'm a child, and I never came myself. I was always kind of just brought by my mum and dad. So it's the first time that I'm actually coming on my own as an adult. It's horrible out. It's rainy, it's cold, it's dull. So I'm not really expecting there to be too many people out here. But then again, I might be surprised. I'm just hoping that I can find it. It shouldn't be too difficult. Hi.
Hello.
I'm here to do a tour at 3:45.
Oh, yeah. Is there for Niamh, is it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, hello everyone.
Hello.
Good evening. You're all very welcome to Newgrange. My name's John. Now we're going to start the tour outside the monument, so just follow me up, okay?
Oh, it's tight.
Okay folks, we have everyone in. Now you're all very welcome to the inner sanctum here at Newgrange, what some people call the womb of Newgrange. Some people say womb because some people believe, perhaps even the Neolithic people themselves, that you are now standing inside the pregnant belly of Mother Earth. That, of course, is for you to decide. One thing we do know is you're standing inside one of the oldest buildings in the world. Built 5,200 years ago as a religious building, they built it in the shape of a cross. You don't build something this big, put it on top of a hill, cover it with white stones, and not want people to look at it. These are the medieval cathedrals of the Stone Age. That same ceiling has not leaked a single drop of water in 5,200 years. And believe me, in Ireland, that is some achievement. Now that tells us a little bit about Neolithic people. It tells us they were great architects and engineers, that they had the foresight to see what would happen to a structure like this in thousands of years to come. It also suggests that there must have been a huge emphasis in their society on the afterlife, because their own houses, they built them out of wood, mud and straw. But the buildings they placed the dead into, well, they're still standing. The solar alignment takes place at Newgrange on the 5 mornings of the 5 shortest days of the year. At 2 minutes to 9, the sun will appear. It will enter Newgrange through the roof box. The sun is a living thing. It moves across the floor, it shimmers and it shakes. And it is that movement that will keep people arguing forever, that the spirals come alive. Now it's estimated that it might have taken your ancestors up to 70 years to build something this big. And that was so they could house the sun for 17 minutes. By 9:15, the sun is too high in the sky to continue to the roof box. And perhaps the souls and spirits of your ancestors left upon the beam of light. Or perhaps they're still here.
It's amazing to think of the time and energy our ancestors put into building this monument, which still stands today for us to explore. Could this possibly mean there is an afterlife? Why go through all that trouble if not? I met up with archaeologist Geraldine Stout to learn more about this monument.
And how was it discovered, Newgrange?
A guy called Charles Campbell, who was the new owner of the lands around Newgrange, built a mansion in the late 17th century. And he discovered, when he was taking stone from what he thought this artificial hill, he exposed the stone with the art. And then this Welsh antiquarian happened to be in the area. And then he documented Newgrange for the first time, this guy called Flood. Okay. So he did the first drawings and wrote the first descriptions of Newgrange. the winter solstice, you have to remember these are farming communities, okay? They can't go into little or Aldi, and if the crop doesn't, if your spuds don't work out this year, run in and buy a bag of potatoes. Like they were totally dependent on the sun to grow their crops, to feed their communities. And like sun was so important. So you can imagine how at the in the winter solstice where the sun is at its minimum, they really need this kind of, they really need to know the sun is going to come back. So they need the blessing of their ancestors to do that. And that's why I think they incorporated this roof box to get those first rays of midwinter sun into the burial chamber and basically get the blessing of the ancestors.
One question I particularly wanted to ask Geraldine is, why do some people see Newgrange as a magical place and then others just see it as a pile of stones?
Well, I mean, you know, and we all know this, that the world is made up of a whole variety of people, and there are people who would be much more spiritual and much more linked with the outside world, the outdoors. And then there are other people who've just no interest, who are just totally disconnected from nature and spirituality.
Why is it so easy for us to forget the importance of our past, or for us to just not have an interest in it? I spoke with Kevin Brophy, a retired history teacher.
As your experience as a history teacher, did you find the interest in history decreasing over the years with students?
Yes, the question was always asked, well, you know, well, what can we learn from this, you know? And I says, well, if we don't learn from this, we're going to make the same mistakes into the future. When people come visiting here to my house, I bring them to Newgrange, and they're fascinated by the idea when you throw it up to them that these monuments here are older than the pyramids, and they wow, and you know they get. But when you start talking to them about the normal things of the Neolithic man and why these monuments, how these monuments kind of were part of their everyday life, you can make it meaningful in that. But if you just throw them facts and figures, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't make any. And also there's the mystique about it. Like the Newgrange stone at the front door of the when you say, well, we don't know what it is. It could be planets, or it could be swirls, could be the main 3 different planets that the Neolithic man worshipped. They're interested in that, but if you don't actually make it part of what they are and touches them in their everyday lives, then it doesn't feature.
I asked Kevin, why is it so important for people to go to places like Newgrange?
Young people, I think, and people probably a bit older like me, we need to understand our heritage. And in order to understand our heritage, we need to come to places like this. And it is in understanding our heritage and what separates us from other people that will make us more united. Which is, because unity is only successful when we accept the diversity of different people. But we need to know what makes us different from the English, from the French, from the Germans. From my experience of teaching students, and I was the same when I was their age. I can't blame them. It's not something that's happening in this generation. Young people live in the here and now. It's what's on social media now, and then yesterday's stuff is yesterday's stuff. And like my daughter continually tells me, used to tell me, you know, Dad, you know, you have to live in the now. You know, and there was all these cliches that was kind of making me look very old. But I think if we can get them to, and I don't know how we do it. It didn't succeed in my generation. It probably won't succeed in this generation. It's a generational thing. But young people, I think, tend to live in the here and now. By and large, we do need to know our past to be able to successfully live into the future.
Before heading to the winter solstice, I met with mythologist Anthony Murphy. I asked him if it's having an effect on our culture and identity that we no longer share stories or myths.
Undoubtedly. And as I said previously, and this was a belief of C.G. Jung, who was one of the great minds of the 20th century, and you know, was a great I suppose a great believer in the importance of myth to the human story, and that is that if you become divorced from your story, the thing is that there is an innate need with humans for story. We sometimes don't recognise that. Today, some people, now it's only some people, because a lot of us are sensitive to, these things, and I think I am, but some people are so rational and so almost post-scientific that they won't consider for a second their spiritual needs. So these are people who are atheistic, who don't go to church, who don't believe in any god or deity, and who maybe they might take a run or a walk in the countryside and not recognise that that is a spiritual experience for them. So Jung believed that a nation or a culture that became detached from its myths and its stories was in danger of, at the very least, deterioration, and at its worst, catastrophe.
I then asked him, what is the mythology behind Newgrange?
Well, the mythology of Newgrange, first and foremost, is that it was built by the Tuatha Dé Danann, who were prehistoric deities. I mean, they weren't human. They were something else. They were the ancient invasion myths chronicle a series of invasions of Ireland, or arrivals, starting with the granddaughter of Noah, which is obviously a biblical tie-in. But the Tuatha Dé Danann arrive from the sky, and when they arrive in Ireland, they burn their ships because they don't want to have to escape through cowardice. So they want to face whatever enemy might be here. So they are the ones that are associated with constructing Newgrange. The Dagda, who's the chief supreme deity, is the one who is said to have built it, and his son Aengus later takes over. So it is immediately associated in the mythology with the supreme beings, the ones that are, I suppose, closest to our hearts in a sympathetic way, in a nostalgic way.
My last stop was the winter solstice on the 21st of December.
Where did you come from today?
We come from Madrid, Spain.
And did you come here just for the solstice?
Yes, just
you
for
traveled
the sun.
Just for the solstice?
Exactly, yeah.
Why?
Yeah, well, it's an incredible experience. It's something totally different to the things you can live now in the common society. It's a connection with the ancestors, habits and cultures, and the energy.
Shamanic drum. So, yeah, it's connection. The drum beat leads you into a meditative state that you can connect with nature, with your power animals, with your spirit guides. And I can hear the drum beat going back the generations. When I drum, I was in Loch Crew for the autumn equinox, and in the chamber you could hear the echo of the drums going back through the millennia.
Wow.
So it reminds me that I'm strong, that I have tribe behind me.
It is quite almost, it's not soothing, but it's almost hypnotic, the sound from the drum, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's an alpha. Yeah, mother's heartbeat. What is the beat? The alpha beat, is it? That it affects theta. Can't remember it, but it relaxes your brain to open your inner eye to see. Maybe, and even if it's just a relaxation, it's a gift.
Lovely.
It's a gift.
Is this your first time coming to the winter solstice?
Yes.
First time?
I'm trying for last 4 years, but I never could because it was busy with life and work, and this is first time. In my personal belief, I kind of believe that we all humans are connected, and I'm very connected to nature, and I really love that I found here in Ireland that a lot of people really follow that kind of spiritual path. And in my hometown, the first hometown, it's very similar monument. And it's kind of story how we all connected.
Yeah,
kind
nice.
of story megalithic and 5000s and similar habits of Celtic people. And it's kind of amazing, really.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who is which religion or nation or color or whatever. Because sun is shining for everybody.
That really stood to me. No matter the colour of your skin, nationality or religion, we all stood together as a tribe, waiting for the sun to rise. Places like Newgrange were left to us by our ancestors. You don't have to have a love for history to enjoy a place like Newgrange. It's time away from the crazy world to appreciate the beauty of life and what really matters.